Mortal Kombat on Sega Genesis is the best video game ever.
I disagree. It's a very good game, but I think Donkey Kong is the best game ever.
Donkey Kong sucks.
You know something? You suck.
Donkey Kong. God, these games rock. No matter how many weird directions this relatively tiny series manages to be split into, all of them just wind up being pretty damn good. And with that new Donkey Kong looking like a game actually worth buying a $500 console over, why not do a quick and fun appearances series style rundown on all of Donkey Kong's multiplayer games and characters, and give myself one last opportunity to use the classic renders before I have to take them out back with the shotgun. Now, the Donkey Kong series may not be known for its complex, playable histories like the other Nintendo franchises we've covered so far, but still got a fun amount of interesting tidbits to go over. And since this is going to be a pretty short list anyway, hell, we might as well just cover everything the series has to offer. Starting with one of the few types of multiplayer games I usually skip over, the two-player exclusive battle minigame games. Now, like I said, these sort of tacked on two-player modes are always super common in these 2D platformers, but along with being common, they're also just pretty uninteresting to talk about, at least when it comes to playable rosters. Wow, who would guess the battle mode in the game that stars only Mario and Luigi would only let you play as Mario and Luigi? That's pretty crazy. Though, with the DK series, for just how old and diverse the series can get, it does have some interesting tidbits worth talking about. We might as well start at the very beginning with the old classic arcade games, and pretty much all of them are the basic taking turns multiplayer affair you'd expect with games this ancient, but there are two fun little exceptions, like the old Donkey Kong Game & Watch games. There were a very limited amount of Game & Watch games that actually had any PvP, and here we actually have two. Donkey Kong Hockey, a game that has you playing a game of hockey as either DK or Mario, and a Donkey Kong 3 game that has you playing as either DK or Stanley. Remember Stanley? Nintendo sure doesn't, though I can't say I blame them. And then we get to the weirdest one. In Donkey Kong Jr. Math, by the way, please do let me know if this video was the first time you've ever heard of the game Donkey Kong Jr. Math, I'd be delighted to know. You have a two-player versus math mode, where the second player gets to play as a pink version of Donkey Kong Jr., who I can only assume is a possible bastard son of Cranky, whom was pushed out of the family sometime before the country games, probably due to shame. Speaking of which, the country titles give us more of the traditional stuff. Two-player versus modes, where players see how many levels they can complete over the other, with the two players only getting to play as one of the respective duo of Kongs per game. Though, as the games were eventually ported to the GBA, they did give you some special exclusive bonus minigames that still had you playing as one of the two Kongs, but gave you really exciting activities to do that range from fishing garbage from out of a dirty pond to engaging in real-time maritime combat against the Kremlin army's deadliest combatants. Oh, and also you can do a funny race that actually has you playing as Espresso in one of these, so that's nice. Though there is one other funny little exception similar to Donkey Kong Jr. Math, and it's actually in the very first DKC, where instead of the versus mode working like the other games and remakes, with both players getting a different Kong on the same team, they instead get two separate teams of Kongs entirely, with one being the regular DK and Diddy, and the other getting a bizarro version of the apes, where their only real difference is their clothes have been swapped out from red to mustard yellow. Reminds me of the Super Kongs from the Return series, though I guess these guys would be more of a Simpsons Kong, if anything. And as for the other stuff, well, this is where we get into a good old-fashioned appearances list. Starting, of course, with the one-timers. Characters who have only appeared playable once in a multiplayer game. Starting in DK64 with Chunky Kong. I guess there is some merit to the whole Chunky is dead meme, because he hasn't been in a single thing since this game. As far as I'm concerned, the Mario movie is an entirely different continuity. But sharing an exclusive DK64 playable role is Crusha, the only unlockable character from DK64's battle mode. Then, in King of Swing, we actually have another category of characters I don't usually talk about on these lists, a crossover character, with the one here actually being a pretty out there one. Bubbles, the main protagonist from the NES classic Clu Clu Land, the game where the little spiky guys from Smash Brothers come from. Yeah, that one. Which might seem a little random, but seeing as the whole gameplay of King of Swing is pretty similar to Clu Clu Lands, and the last new title in the Clu Clu Land series was, yeah, I guess they decided to pay homage by giving Bubbles their own playable slot. Then all that's left for the one-timers is Donkey Kong Barrel Blast, with a whole Kremling crew of custom crocodiles, with some being based off old DKC enemies, while others are kinda just doing their own thing, with Kip, Cass, Copter, Calypso, Kludge, and Clump, as well as the only playable spin-off appearance of Cranky Kong. But that's not all, as our final one-timer is a pretty neat one, Ultra Barrel DK, an alternate form of Donkey Kong where he basically just gets the best barrel jetpack in the game as a bit of a completion bonus, apparently flying so fast that it lights him on fire, but he just doesn't really care. Then onto the two-timers, moving back to the other DK64 hanger-ons with Lanky Kong and Tiny Kong, both also appearing in Barrel Blast. Though in the transition to the Wii era, they decidedly gave Tiny Kong an interesting redesign to say the least. What's better, Melting Muppet Face or Cookie Monster Sweatpants? Pick your poison. And with them actually making reappearances, lending a little more credence to the theory that Chunky Kong might just actually be dead. But it was no accident. That night out on the water, when he asks Cranky about it, he gets quiet. Diddy tries to tell me it's survivor's guilt, but I know. I know what old men like that will do when they have nothing left to lose. Swapping back over to King of Swing, we sadly get to King K. Rool. I need him in more stuff, please Nintendo. As well as Wrinkly Kong. Honestly, really surprising to see her so high, even on such a short list. And to end us off, we have Critter. Although technically, King of Swing just labels him as Kremling, but he's pretty obviously just a critter, so whatever. Then jumping to four-timers, we have everyone's favorite Funky Kong. In both the DK games, but only appearing in Donkey Konga 3. Then at the five-timers, we have Dixie Kong, actually making it into Donkey Konga 2, but not being a part of the DK crew in DK64. And then to end things off, of course, is the ultimate tag team of Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, expectedly playable in just about every DK spin-off game you can find. But what if I told you it didn't quite end there? That somehow, Diddy Kong managed to surpass Donkey Kong in playable appearances. Not in Donkey Kong spin-off games, no, but in his very own. You know, there's already a video out there that goes into way better detail about the past and the characters of Diddy Kong Racing, so if you really want to delve into the nitty-gritty, you can go watch that, but I'll just serve up the SparkNotes version. So basically, here's the gist. In the classic Rare style of trying to make one thing and then just having it spiral out of control for 3 to 5 years until it becomes just a completely different fucking product, they were in the midst of working on their dinosaur-themed RTS that had now evolved into becoming a children's kart racer, a game to be named Pro-Am 64, a sequel to a pretty old, not really remembered NES game that Rare had made back in the day, and a game set to star the debut of Timber the Tiger, which was all well and good until they ran into a bit of an issue. Banjo-Kazooie, the game that was set to be their big hit for the Christmas season of that year, was being delayed, which was not only about to really mess up their profit margins, but but even the Big N themselves were also feeling the pressure, as Banjo was supposed to be the lead figurehead in an ad deal they had in collaboration with Taco Bell. Man, it's weird looking back and seeing how many times fast food tie-ins impacted the video game industry. Happens more times than you think. So, needing a AAA game to replace Banjo for the Christmas season and the ad, they decided that game should be Pro Am 64, which they wound up demoing to Miyamoto, who said he really liked it. There was only one issue though: Timber the Tiger. I mean, sure, he was cute enough, but like I said, Nintendo needed a slam dunk here, and apparently he had little to no faith in this guy being able to sell a box of tissues, let alone a AAA video game. So, to give it a bit of star power and ensure a win, he let the folks at Rare pick just about any Nintendo rep they wanted to replace Timber as the star. Any of them. And while in my opinion, Super Famicom Detective Club Rally would have been the much more inspired choice, of course they decided to stick with Diddy Kong. After all, they helped make the guy. It was practically their character too. And after that, Rare just kinda said fuck it, and filled out the rest of the playable cast to fit the new Rare-themed kart racer they had on their hands here. You know what? Why don't we just throw Banjo in the game here as a treat to help tide people over and drum up hype for his upcoming release? And you know what? Throw in that squirrel from our other upcoming game too. That won't be retroactively really weird in a couple of years. No, definitely. And you know what? Going back to Diddy Kong, hey, you know what we also made? The Kremlings. Well, let's just toss one in there, you know, help keep the little guy company. And we'll even add in that little mouse from our canceled Astro Mouse game we were cooking up a couple years back. Add a couple of originals like Tip Tup, who would funnily enough later become a Banjo-Kazooie character, and a sex offender badger, and you've got yourself a roster fit for one of the most highly regarded kart racers of all time. But the best part is, it didn't even stop there, as, of course, this game even comes with some unlockable characters. You have Drumstick the Chicken, kinda morbid name there, the former hero of the island who lost a race to the evil Whizpig and got turned into a frog for his failure. But you can save him. All you need to do is collect all 4 racing trophies and then run his ass over. Damn, magical cures are brutal. And then there's TT, the talking clock, the guy you race in the game's time trials, who you unlock by, well, beating all the game's time trials. And yeah, that's the roster of Diddy Kong Racing. Pretty short and sweet. Until this came out. Yeah, that's right. Sometime in the mid-2000s, a now Microsoft-owned Rare decided to collab with Nintendo one last time. With Nintendo owning the source code to DKR, and Microsoft not giving a shit about the mobile gaming market, allowing for a pretty funny legal loophole. As one last hurrah, and the last time Rare ever made a game starring a Nintendo IP, they decided to remake Diddy Kong Racing. Now obviously, even if this was technically legal to make, some parts did have to be changed for this to be possible. Notably, them having to remove the playable racers of both Banjo and Conker. Though I guess Microsoft really just didn't care about Tip Tup, seeing as he's still here even though he is a Banjo character. So, to fill the 2 missing slots in the roster, Nintendo actually replaced them with Dixie Kong and uncomfortable redesigned Tiny Kong. Which I mean, is cool, but why the hell not DK? I guess they're trying to harken back to that Diddy's Conquest vibe, or just wanted to keep the Rare characters only thing the original game had going. And other than that, the game's basically just the same. Though even though that's all for the original cast, we do get 2 extra bonus characters. Starting with the coolest one, it's fucking Whizpig. Oh no way, that's so cool. Oh, he's in a tiny cart. Yeah, that's pretty lame. Though it is still cool to confirm that Nintendo still owns the rights to Whizpig of all characters. Or maybe they don't, I have no idea how copyright works. And for our last, less impressive, but kind of funny unlockable character, we have Taj, the blue Indian genie elephant. A helpful fella who in the original mostly just raced you for golden balloons and helped you swap out your carts for planes and hovercrafts. But here, he's his own playable character. Though, while he looks about the same here, they did change him just a little bit. You see, with Taj being an Indian elephant and this being a product of the late 90s, the voice they gave him was...
I am the genie of the island.
Let's just say a little cartoonish, and could probably be seen as offensive today. So obviously they changed that up for the modern release, which I mean is all well and good, you know, society evolves, changes happen, all that crap, but like instead of just swapping his voice lanes out for something still Indian but a little more respectful, someone at Rare had the bright idea to just make him a prim and proper Brit.
Hello there, I'm Taj.
So now he's just some British guy, not just wearing Indian clothes, but completely adorned in presumably Indian gold. What I'm trying to say is, to avoid controversy, they made him a member of the British Raj. And that's it. That's the video. Thanks for watching. Yeah, this one was definitely pretty interesting to tackle, but overall, it's just a short and sweet appearances video. I've got something big planned for my next one, but I'm not quite sure which topic I want it to be yet, but whatever it may be, I'm sure you guys will love it. Anyway, as always, big thanks to my patrons, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.